Flying Scotsman was still on his visit to Sodor. One day he was chatting animatedly with Gordon, who was his brother. Just then, Arthur pulled up, along with an engine that neither of them had seen before. "Who's this?" asked the Flying Scotsman. "This," said Arthur, "is Neil. He used to work here a long time ago, and Sir Topham Hatt wants to make him useful again so he can work here." "Well, that sounds like a good idea," said Gordon. Then Arthur's driver spoke. "Come on, Arthur," he said. "You're almost out of water. The nearest water tower isn't far, but we best leave Neil so we don't use up any more than we have to." "Right," said Arthur. So we uncoupled from Neil and set off. "Hello," said Neil. "What are your names?" "Well," said Gordon, "I'm Gordon, and this is my brother, the Flying Scotsman." "The Flying Scotsman?" Yes." "Wow, you're probably the most famous engine in the world." "Well, thank you." "Anyways, how have you two been? I see you've got a nice railway now. It wasn't this nice when I used to work here. It didn't belong to Sir Topham Hatt then. He would have handled things a lot better." "What do you mean?" said Gordon. "Well, back then, we didn't have nearly so many engines, for starters. I mostly did shunting work. There were a few other engines as well, but the pride of the line was Hiro. Hiro was Japanese, and he practically ran the whole railway by himself." "Ah, yes," said Gordon. "We know all about him." "You do?" said Neil. "We do?" said the Flying Scotsman. Gordon blushed. "Well, I do, at least. I'll tell you some other time. Please, continue your story, Neil." So Neil did. "Hiro and I were very good friends. We liked each other very much, and always helped each other out when we were in need. I remember one time that happened, and here's what took place. It was summertime, about 70 years ago. I had just finished shunting a long train for Hiro, but Hiro wasn't arriving. Our controller, Mr. Dummins, was growing very impatient. "Where's that Hiro?" he said. "He should have been here 20 minutes ago." It was then that a man walked up. He spoke to Mr. Dummins, and then he walked away. Mr. Dummins spoke. "Hiro," he announced, "has come off the rails at Great Waterton Station, and there are no spare engines to take this train. It could mean disaster. This is probably one of the most important freight loads we've had in years, if not in the entire history of the railway." "I could pull it, sir," I suggested. "You," said the controller. I highly doubt that. You're just a small little shunting tank engine. I don't think you could ever hope to pull a train this size. I can have a jolly good try. Besides, the train has to get to its destination, doesn't it?" Yes, well, I suppose so. Very well, go ahead and try." I tried and tried, pulled as hard as I could, but I could only move the cars a little bit, and that took a great amount of effort. "Oh, maybe you're right, Mr. Dummins," I said. "There's no way I'll ever be able to pull this train." "Of course there is," encouraged my driver. "Looky here, let's go fetch another freight car in front, and then a workman can stand on it and put sand on the rails. That'll help you get a grip." "Good idea," I said, so I uncoupled from the train and went to find another freight car. Soon I had fetched another car, and we were ready to go. "Here's try two," I said, and while the workman in front sanded the rails, I slowly began to move the train. "Go it!" shouted my driver. "Come on, Neil, you can do this!" You should have seen the look on Mr. Dummins' face as I pulled the train out of the docks. The going was slow, and it took a lot of energy, but I knew I had to get the train to its destination. If I didn't, the railway might close. At last I pulled the train to its destination. "Whew," I said. "That was hard work." "Tell me about it," said the workman, who had sanded my rails, and he collapsed onto the freight car, exhausted. I felt like collapsing myself. "Well done, boy," said my driver. "You really are a useful engine. After this, we can go to the works and mend you up. Then you'll be as fresh as new." And they did take me to the works to be freshened up. Hiro, who had been put back on the track after his accident, came to visit me. "Thank you, Neil," he said to me. "You're so wonderful. You saved the railway." "Aw," I said, "all I did was help you out. That's what friends are supposed to do, isn't it?" "It is indeed," said Hiro. And then he puffed away. "What a remarkable story," said the Flying Scotsman. "Indeed," said Gordon. "You certainly do deserve to be as famous as my brother." "It was nothing," said Neil. "Just a little help here and there, you know. That's all I needed to do." At that moment, Arthur came back. "I'm filled up with water now, Neil," he said. "It's time to head to the Sodor Steamworks. Then they can repair you and make you as good as new." "Gee," said Neil. "This sounds familiar." And then Arthur took him away. Gordon and the Flying Scotsman watched him go, and they would remember him for a very long time.